If you're in California and you received some relief, you might have to give some of it back. Now, this is fresh off the hills. No, oh, yeah. Buckle in, Joy. This is great. Nearly 1 million Californians may have to pay back some of their unemployment benefits. Right before the holidays, thousands of self-employed and gig workers just found out they may have to pay back unemployment benefits they have already received. It is a crisis. Just before the holidays, many have already spent it on living expenses. So here's what's going on. Now, back in April, the CARES Act kicked in, and for the first time, self-employed workers and gig workers could get unemployment. And I know this because I was one of them. I'm a self-employed guy. I usually don't qualify for anything. Because of that part that they put in the CARES Act, self-employed people were able to apply. And, it's funny. This is fresh off the hills. I was talking to a comedian friend of mine in Pennsylvania, actually a mutual friend of ours, Chris Moen. And I was telling him how I said, I got to give it up. California, they did make it somewhat easy for self-employed people to get a little bit of something. And I did get something. I didn't get a lot, but, I was able to get a little bit because of what I, qualified for or whatever. And that did help because, I lost a lot of my salary this year. I mean, I rely on touring for my living, and that was all completely gone. So I was telling him that, California made it pretty easy. Well, I guess they made it so easy that they're taking some of it back. So here's what happened. They here, I'll read it. I'll read it straight from the article because the article explains it pretty well. Benefits were supposed to be based on their net income in 2019, but in all the confusion of an unprecedented program, many reported their gross income instead. So you were supposed to report your net, and that was how they were going to base how much money they gave you. People reported their gross instead. Here's the fun part. There were places where it asked for your gross. They had someone on the EDD website, and then they're like, do you want net or gross? Oh, it's right here on the website. Gross? Okay. So they've asked for gross during certain times, and then I guess net for other times. I don't remember exactly how I filled it out because this was months ago. But the way it breaks down is self-employed workers needed a net income of at least 46 to qualify for the maximum benefit. And with a lesser amount, the minimum would have been 167. Some people were reporting their gross instead of their net. So they might have gotten, quote unquote, too much. So they have to give it back.
Oh my gosh.
But they're trying to make it, the article goes on to say they're trying to make it so that if it was an honest error, you don't have to pay it back. So we'll see what happens. But potentially, if you are self-employed in California, you might have to give some of your money back.
Oh,
wow. Wow. How nuts is that?
That is absolutely incredible. I don't know why I'm surprised anymore at this shit, but that's just you're relieved, you get some extra money and then, but sorry, when things do hopefully start to get better, you're kind of gonna have to take some of that money.
Do you think this is rock bottom?
Oh my God. I I like to say I'm not a pessimist, I'm a realist. And I have been a defeatist horribly, especially since Friday. It just kind of hit me what the hell's the point of fighting anymore? I'm kind of in one of those ruts. I fear it is simply because the amount of people who are so comfortable with, now we have a dim president and I can get a good night's sleep and things like that. The amount of people feeling that way makes me fear that so many of the protests are going to stop, things like that.
Really?
So
you fear that?
Oh yeah.
See, I don't. I don't fear that. I don't think there is. I mean, first of all, and I've said this, and I'll stand by this. If your movement can be put to sleep by a neocon like Joe Biden, I got some bad news for you. You never had a movement. It doesn't exist.
I'm not necessarily talking about us. I'm just
You're
talking
right.
about the, all the shitlibs who suddenly cared about things because it
And
was
I think they're a smaller group than we realize. They just have a lot of money. I think they're and to be honest, it's like the Alyssa Milanos in the world, the people you satirize in your book. Those people can't go back to sleep. You know why? Because they were never awake. You have to be awake to go back to sleep. And honestly, I'm like, okay, if a nice sounding president is all you're concerned about, have fun. You were never really on anyone's side. But what's really going on is that people are losing their freaking homes. People are food insecure. And you have so many people in this country that are looking around and going, what the fuck? This is not acceptable at any level. This is not this is not who we are. Straight up. I mean, I know it's a cliche, but it really is applicable. You look around and you just say, this is not who we are. And, some of us have felt that way for a long time. And others, it's like, different things jolt people awake. For me, it was the Iraq War. For me, I mean, when I was in high school, I didn't really pay much attention to politics. And then when Iraq happened, and I was like, why are we in Iraq? And I started reading books that were not introduced to me in high school. I found them on my own or in college. And I started asking questions. And that was my big jolt. It's almost like the world shook me. And I was like, oh, shit. And I saw shit that I didn't see before. In many ways, because I also tried shrooms during that era. But for the first time. But I think there's a mass awakening when people are looking at the world around them, because you can't ignore this. You cannot ignore this. I mean, even if you have a gated community, you still leave that gated community occasionally. You still see what's going on with the pandemic. This cannot be ignored. And I mean, I think more people have stopped defending the indefensible. And that's important. I do think this is rock bottom, because I think that when a society hits rock bottom, it's not like it's just like, boom, we're rock bottom now. That's not how it works. Maybe it works that way for an individual. I think when a society hits rock bottom, you're kind of just bouncing off. You're kind of just bouncing off the rock, and you're just kind of, and because of that, there's some glimmers of hope scattered throughout. There's little silver linings that happen too. Well, simultaneously, you're really in a ditch. And those silver linings, hopefully, what you hope for is that the silver linings get brighter and brighter so that you start turning around and you bring about a better tomorrow. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I hope it does. And I'm going to do everything that I can as an individual to try to make that happen to every vehicle available to me. But it can happen. It doesn't have to go the other way. I don't know.
I hope you're
That's
right.
what I think.
I hope you're right. I just feel like no expectations, no disappointments.
That's true. I mean, I try not to get my hopes up about anything, especially electorally. I mean, I am at the point where, again, I mean, well, you know where I'm at. I'm at the point where I'm like, I think everybody should be fired, every single one. I think they should all just be completely fired. We should just have a people's legislature. That's it. That's it. I don't think our system, it can't be reformed. It needs to be just completely overhauled. Like, it cannot be reformed. Our electoral system is a lot like the police. It cannot be reformed. It's too late. That ship has sailed. That ship has sailed. Honestly, probably about 40 years ago, that ship sailed. The reform ship. I think the day Reagan stepped in, that ship sailed. And I'm very, very exhausted by people pretending the wrestling match is real. And I've been done pretending it's real, but I mean, I'm going to call out how freaking absurd the wrestling match is. because if we don't laugh, we'll all go insane. And because I'm not going to pretend it's real. I'm done pretending it's real.
Absolutely. Dem exiting was just, I took like, I think it was 30 showers after I exited, and it just felt wonderful.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your news